a holy door that we will be passing. As we pass it, you will see that to your left there is another door. It is called the Byzantine door. It is realized. It was constructed in the 12th century. You will see different scenes from Peter and Paul's life, as well as from Jesus' life. So this is a really very ancient door dating back to the 11th century, and it was the artist who made all of these incisions was called Pantaleone. And yes, so as you pass through, we cannot stand here because it's a passageway, but you can look at it. So you can maybe walk a little more slowly in order to be able to see it better. Notice that as soon as you come here, as compared to other papal basilicas, if you've been to St. Peter's for instance, it is very quiet here. As I was telling you, we are outside the walls of Rome, so there isn't the hustle and bustle of city life. At the same time, there is this kind of broad space, right? Because there aren't many chairs, they are usually set up during celebrations and things like that. So this is what makes St. Paul's Basilica particularly special. It was the biggest basilica until 1626, when St. Peter's Basilica was built. So that is also why the spaces are so broad. In this moment, we're in a part of the church that is called the nave. Is there any one of you who studies Italian or Latin? Yes? What do you think? What word does the word nave come from?
Boats.
Very good. Do you know what has the boat to do with the church in general? Like
Fishermen of men.
The fisherman, very good. Something else?
And when Jesus was calling the storm.
Also, yes, there are many evangelical episodes where we can find the boat.
The ark.
But also the church fathers refer to the church as the boat that somehow brings us all, the faithful people
We
of
have
God.
to be inside the boat.
Exactly. Very, very well. So we're all on the same boat, which is voyaging towards the fullness that God has promised each of us. And at the same time, the church fathers also call this particular ship or boat the Ark of Noah. And that is because, of course, on Noah's Ark, there were so many different animals and plants, and it represents maybe the universal church, in the sense that salvation is really for everyone, so no one is excluded. This offer is made to any person who is alive and breathing on this earth today. So this is also maybe something to think about as communicators, because we're all on the same ship, voyaging towards the fullness, and it is an encouragement for us in our mission to try and draw as many people as possible on this journey towards the fullness, precisely because we believe that the fullness of joy can be found in this church. So as Pope Francis says, right, todos, todos, todos. So just keep it in mind as we journey through this beautiful church. Now, if you raise up your heads, you will see these countless medallions everywhere. I will tell you they are 266. There are actually some more, but some are empty. And that is because there is one medallion for each pope that there has ever been since St. Peter's time. So the first one is over there, and all the way to Pope Francis, who's on the right side. So when we will pass through, you will be able to see him because there is a spotlight on him. And this part is really very moving to me because if you think of it, it shows the continuity of God's presence and faithfulness to us as His people, and also the fact that Jesus has built His church on a rock that really didn't rock. Like, I don't know if you get like a double sense, because the thing is, if you think of it, Peter was a really very, like, he was an enthusiast, and he always made such incredibly big promises. Lord, if everyone and anyone should abandon you, I will be with you. Well, spoiler alert, he didn't. He left him. And the thing is, if that is the rock on whom Jesus built his church, then really the message of St. Paul is still true today, because throughout these centuries, even as a church, we're very weak, we're very frail, there are problems, throughout the centuries, but God is always present, and the Holy Spirit works through us through so many thousands of years. So this for me is really something very moving. And it is also an encouragement, I think, for each of us, because of course we are part of this church and we build up this church. And also, if you notice, from a structural point of view, there are these columns and the popes that somehow keep up the entire structure of the church. So this for me is really a symbol of the fact that we hold this treasure in earthen vessels, which is something from St. Paul again. And that weakness is actually the place where God can intervene, step in, and bring about His transformative work, precisely because it is in weakness that His power is made manifest. Now, another thing that I really like is it reminds me of the genealogy of Christ, because we know that in the genealogy of Christ there are just so sometimes I remember when I was a child, I couldn't understand why they would read this incredibly long list of names which just didn't mean anything to me. But if you actually go research each of these people, you will discover that there are many very broken people in that list, if you know their stories and you've read a little bit of the Bible. And if you look at these popes, not all of them have got halos over their heads. And it really is what Pope Francis says, that the church is primarily not a museum of saints, but a hospital for sinners. And but this doesn't diminish any of God's faithfulness in our regards, as regards us. So these medallions were actually made in the 5th century during the pontificate of Leo I. And above the medallions you can see 63 frescoes which tell the life of Paul in a chronological order. They start from the transept, which is the part after the arch that you see over here. So there are many episodes. For instance, over there I was telling you, we can see 2 of Paul's helpers, Priscilla and Aquila, over there. And then you will find Timothy. There are some people that you find mentioned in Acts or in the epistles that he wrote to the different communities that he visited. The nave is made of 5, let's say there are 5 parts that constitute this nave. So it is actually 5 naves, a bigger one and some smaller ones. And this is something that is also typical of the Paleo-Christian basilicas that I was telling you about. The interior was reconstructed after the fire in 1823. And actually, speaking about the fire, it's interesting to see how after the basilica was almost completely destroyed, the nations to whom Paul preached the gospel somehow poured out everything they could in terms of financial help, materials. I mean, there were letters of support, there were prayers streaming in from all over the world. For instance, these windows were sent by the Viceroy of Egypt. There are the alabaster columns at the altar that you can see over there, who have also been sent by the King of Egypt, in 1823. And that was the year when Pope Leo XII sent out an appeal to the entire world because of course the church needed help to raise up this place again, and really the support did come from the Gentiles to whom Paul had announced the gospel message. So I think symbolically also it's very beautiful how from so much destruction so much beauty can flourish again. And also symbolically, this place is built where there was a huge Roman necropolis, which is basically a cemetery. So also that is nice to keep in mind, because a place which was just a place where dead people were buried is now a vessel of so much life. You will see the coat of arms of Pope Pius IX up there, because he let this roof be constructed. I think we can now maybe go towards the front.